So in marriage, it's the same thing, like praying and seeking a heart change, because ultimately God is after our hearts. So we should be praying for the hearts of our husbands, so that when we are recircling, when we are not growing as we want, or they're not growing in the way that we want, realizing that they may be growing in the way that God needs them to in this season.
Welcome to the All Things Beloved podcast with me, Christina Patterson, where we speak with real women about real faith in a real God. This is a safe place to have honest conversations about faith, life, relationships, purpose, and well, all things beloved. Thank you so much for joining today's conversation. Be sure to share with a friend and enjoy the show. Hello, beloved, and welcome back to another episode of the All Things Beloved podcast, where we have the honor and privilege of chatting with our sisters in Christ about life, marriage, ministry, business, and well, all things beloved. I'm so excited to introduce to you today's guest, Ayana Hall, also known as the relational pharmacist. She is a wife, marriage strategist, coach, and mentor. She is on a mission to engage, inspire, and equip women with the prescriptions for success to discover their purpose, reconnect with themselves, and grow within their relationships. Welcome to the show, Ayana.
Christina, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here with you today.
I love it. So I've been looking on Instagram, checking you out, and I was like, I really want to have her on the show. I love what she's talking about. I love her mission and her heart. So I'm just as excited to have you here today. I read your professional bio and everything, but we want to hear in your own words who you are, what you do, what do you love?
I first love Jesus.
Yes.
Is my first love. And I am a faithful and committed wife. My goal ultimately is to honor God, honor my husband, and to raise my daughters well. And I spend most of my time doing that. But then over the years, God had just been stirring some things in my heart. So like, okay, you've kind of mastered some things. You've shifted careers, marriage, you have kids, and you're managing all that. So how do you help other wives, and especially wives to be, do that well? Because we often have this idea of what marriage should be like. And then you get married and you're like, this is not what I thought I signed up for. So I want it to be what you thought you signed up for. I want to encourage and equip women to live boldly, live faithfully, and enjoy marriage, because marriage should be fun.
Yes. And so you share about your 3 daughters, right? And your husband, Eric. And how long have you all been married?
15 years this January.
15 years. Now, I saw that you share that you all are college sweethearts.
Mm-hmm.
That's very much like my husband and I. We're not at 15 yet. We'll be 14 at the end of this year, 14 years together.
That's awesome.
And you shared that you have both done a lot of growing up together. And that really struck me, because that's very much like my husband and I. I remember when we first got engaged, my mom was like, you're really young to be getting married. I was 22, but I thought I was grown. And she was like, you're immature. And I was like, wait a minute, I got a car, a job, we got a place to stay. What do you mean we're immature? And she was like, but I guess you'll just have to grow up together. And that's exactly what happened. And so when I saw that on your blog, where you were just really honest about like, look, we had to kind of grow up together, I wanted you to share a little bit more about what has that looked like over the past 15 years, growing together.
Growing together has meant like giving each other space to do that as well, because you go into it like you think
Right.
My husband, our family told us we were too young too. We were 24 at the time. Yeah, they were like, I just graduated from college. He was still in graduate school. So they're like, you have time. And I'm like, look, this relationship needs to be going in a better direction. Yeah. So I think this is the next step. And I felt like we could just learn the things together. No one's going to get it right, off the bat. So growing together has meant like learning things, realizing that you have to unlearn things. There was a lot of things we had to unlearn, a lot of things we had to realize that, okay, what is going to work for our unique marriage? What is going to like honor God, but also make it uniquely beautiful for us? And to honor God, we had to realize that we needed to put God at the center, because we both believed in God, but we weren't following God as we should when we first got married. And then once we both kind of rededicated our lives, we realized that, okay, if we want to do this right and we want it to truly last a lifetime, we have to commit to doing it God's way and growing in our faith together, growing as individuals together, and just continuing just to like kind of keep our individuality there, but also realizing that we're two have become one, but not losing the one. And I think a lot of people like, okay, well, two become one and now everything is us. Sometimes it's not. And God gives you both callings and purposes that he needs you as individuals to walk out. My husband has a calling on a purpose on his life, and so do I. And then we have a calling on a purpose on our marriage. And we can do all those things together, but it takes growth. It takes humility, and it takes sometimes just kind of stepping back and, looking to see what is this and how do we move to the next season well.
Yeah. Oh, you said so much. You said so much. I want to go back though to where you talked about needing to unlearn certain things. Mm-hmm. What were some, or maybe even just the biggest lessons that you had to actually unlearn when you were married and you're growing together?
One of the things was allowing everybody to have a say. Like, because you go into marriage and you have these families and everybody has an opinion and thoughts, and you treasure those and you look to these, people that you've looked to all your lives. But now that you're married, you both have to make a decision together and realize that the decision that you make together, you have to let others know that decision, and that's it. It's not a committee. Not everybody needs a say. So I had to unlearn some of those, those ties like your mom, your dad, these people that you look to for advice first. I couldn't do that anymore. And my husband couldn't do that anymore. And that was hard.
Yeah.
And I think also unlearning being selfish. We are selfish by nature. I want what I want, how I want it, when I want it. And you need to do it the way I want. And then I'm like, that was not serving me well. That was not serving my husband well. So we had to look, not that I have to be so selfless that I don't take care of myself. I don't have my needs met. I don't make priorities for myself, but realizing that I can't put my needs, my wants first, because as a single person, that's what you do because it's just you.
Right. Right. Wow. So those are two very big lessons to unlearn in a marriage. This is not a committee. You do not get a vote in what goes on in this marriage, and keeping it the two of you and God. And then, of course, like you just shared, those are some really good lessons on what you need to unlearn. That the selfish part is, oh my gosh, like I didn't realize how selfish I was until I got married. And it's like you're looking in this mirror at yourself, at parts of yourself that you never saw before because you've never been in that situation before, which is to be committed to someone else. And so it does bring out so much, but God is so gracious, I'm sure, as you have experienced, to help you grow together. And so that has also been my husband and I's experience, is just growing up together, learning together, struggling, stumbling together.
Picking the other one up, like, oh, it's okay, babe. Let's just, you made a mistake, not holding it over them, or, trying to realizing that we can't really forget things. God didn't give us that ability to just forget, but in forgiveness, you have to just move forward. And it's like the missteps, all those things, those selfish things that you wish you could take back. Once you truly apologize, you repent and turn from it and want to do better, God will equip you to do better, but also your spouse needs to give you the grace to, walk that out. Yeah.
Yeah. That's definitely a big lesson that we've learned, is like give each other space and grace to grow, because nobody grows overnight. You know what I mean? Like it takes time, but when you're struggling with the same issue for over and over, you can become impatient, and you're like, wait a minute, we've been circling this same mountain for the past so many years. What's going to happen?
Right.
What would you say to the wife that is kind of frustrated, where she feels like maybe they aren't growing together and she's tired? Are you ready to take what you are learning in today's Beloved Women video to the next level? Our easy and fun study guides were created to help you follow along with our video Bible study series. Key insights, study questions, viewer guides, activities, journal prompts, and more are included to lead you to a deeper and more personal understanding of God's Word, so you can practically apply what you are learning from our videos to your everyday life. Find all Beloved Women Bible study guides at thebelovedboutique.com. Your full life can't run on an empty soul. And with the Beloved Women app, you don't have to. Fill up on God's love and truth with hundreds of biblically inspiring videos, Bible study plans, and online community. It's time to stop running on empty and experience the spiritual growth you need to maintain the full life you have today. Download the Beloved Women app in the Apple and Google Play stores or at belovedwomen.tv.
I would say first, focus on, okay, what God is speaking to you and seeking God in that. Because I know for me, we grow differently. And
Right.
even though my husband have grown up together, we haven't always grown at the same pace. We haven't always grown in the same ways. So there's been times where I'm like, okay, well, he's just not getting it. Like you said, we're circling this mountain, and I'm like, we talked about it. I mean, I've explained it. I'm tired of talking about this. And then I learned to, okay, if I'm going to truly let go and let God, I have to let go and let God and still do what I'm called to do, still do the right thing, still give the grace when he does that again, when he apologizes again for the same thing. And we're still struggling in that, and realizing that in seeking God for that, I seek to pray for a heart transformation, not a behavior modification, because with heart transformation, the behaviors change. It's just like when you come to know Christ over time, through your growth and your maturation and your growth in your relationship, your actions change. You stop doing some of the things you used to do. And over time, you continue in that growth. So in marriage, it's the same thing, like praying and seeking a heart change, because ultimately God is after our hearts. So we should be praying for the hearts of our husbands, so that when we are recircling, when we are, not growing as we want, or they're not growing in the way that we want, realizing that they may be growing in the way that God needs them to in this season. So we have to step back and stop trying to control all the things that we want to control, and just give space, but seek God and seek our husband's hearts.
Yeah. How did you find the resources and the wisdom, the insight to help you grow as a wife? Because I think of maybe women that might be watching this that are newly married, or maybe they've been married for a while, but they might not have had an example of a godly marriage. And so maybe they're just basing their ideas on what they think marriage should look like off of what they see on TV or what they hear, so I would be interested to know, where have you kind of found the foundation for, this is what I want my marriage to look like? And how did you find that model for yourself?
I started with that same space of, I didn't have an example. So I did not have an example. My parents were not married. So it wasn't that I didn't have that foundation. I wanted like this. I had the TV look of what marriage should be like. And then we get married and we're like, those 30 minutes is not my life. Okay. So what are we going to do with this? And it started with marriage ministry, actually. For my husband and I, we joined a marriage ministry at our church, and they were really intentional about marriage and like building community. And I encourage any wife at any stage of marriage, and even if you are getting married, you need a community around you of other wives, of other couples that that are after the same things, that want prosperous marriages, that want to flourish, that are God-centered, that are encouraging. You need that kind of village around you, just like it takes a village to raise a child. I think it takes a village to have a healthy marriage. Yeah. And through that, and then through just like studying the word and realizing, okay, what does God say about marriage, and how is he calling us to walk this out? And realizing that in community and through like relationships, and also then through coaching later, like a lot of like development, realizing that, okay, in order for us to have a good marriage, in order for anybody to have a good marriage, you need to make sure that you are developing and growing individually as well. It's like you can do all the small groups and all of that, but like you need to also be growing individually, spiritually, just growing as a woman and growing as a wife. And then I think also like therapy. I mean, you can have Jesus and a therapist. They work together.
Beautifully.
Yes. And I got a therapist. I was spinning around circles in my own mind because of past hurts and different things that my husband had nothing to do with my husband. It was like child stuff that I was just carrying, and that over time, I realized was showing up in my marriage and how I reacted, the things I said, the things that frustrated me. It wasn't even him. It was how I was reacting to something because of how it happened to me before. So I got a therapist. My husband has a therapist, and we actually have a marriage therapist we see together to kind of help us work through the things.
Wow. You you are dropping some bombs today. You are setting some wives free. I absolutely love that freedom that you're giving to say, hey, there isn't like some 10-step process, but like you really need to be focused on who's around you, who is your tribe helping to build you up. Because I think we think, okay, well, let's just follow this model that we see on TV. The wife has to do this. And sometimes I feel like we can get overly consumed with like roles specifically. And that if we follow these specific roles and rules, then we're going to have this perfect marriage. I heard someone say the other day that we become one flesh, but we're still two different souls. Stay tuned for a sneak peek at next week's video brought to you by our beloved women members who support our mission to empower women with the love and truth of Jesus Christ. Our members receive exclusive access to Beloved Women videos, Bible studies, printable study guides, and more. If you like Beloved Women, you will love being a Beloved Women member. Learn more and join today at belovedwomen.org. Now enjoy a preview of next week's video.
First, let's break down submission. Sub means under.
Right.
A mission. So you're basically under a mission.
Right.
Okay. If you're two become one and your husband is the head of your household, right, and the husband is the head of the wife, then you're right under his mission. But ultimately, the Bible also tells us that we are to be submitted to Christ. Both of us are submitted. It's right, not a hierarchy of lording over or control or anything like that. A godly man who is submitted to God values his wife, values and covers her, wants her opinion, wants her thoughts, wants to come up with the mission together.